Hello and welcome to my strategic life lessons. There are two things that each human being on this earth, no matter where they live, where they're from, have in common. And that is the day we are born and the day that we die. So in essence, if we look at all our lives, we have a birth date and we have a death date. The only difference is those moments in between. That line, if you look on a gravestone, birth date, death date, there's a line. That line distinguishes each and every one of us. And the biggest distinguishing factor is the memorable, magical moments that we can create. For some people, that's it, there are none. For some people, they have one or two memorable moments. For others, they might have more, some have really more. Some have spans of memorable, magical moments. How many do you have in your life? I believe in a life, and I've made a life here already, with many memorable, magical moments. Now, what do I mean by that? What does that consist of? Well, I've got various shapes here. This would be a bigger shape. That would say, represent your health. For some people, we look at our family. For other people, let's just line that up nicely. For other people, it might be their career, depending on the age and where they are in life. For others, it might be the car that they drive. Then again, for some, it's their social status. For others, it could be the amount of free time that they have in life. For some, of course, it's their educational level. So each and every one of us have different things in life which mean different things. And they all fit into this life of ours. And we all have different size squares. And the aim is to have the biggest one with the most memorable, magical moments. So this is this life at the moment. All these fit in there. But as life is, things change. Our priorities change. Sometimes we start seeing things differently and have to move things around and change things around. We have to change our priorities. Whereas, let's say, for example, once the health was the most important, that could suddenly be our career. Now suddenly the car we drive becomes important. Our social standing maybe becomes more important. And things start changing. And we have to learn. It's called life. It's called being open to change and coping and dealing with things. And we have to learn to cope with all of this, yet remain and keep it all in this one life of ours. And just when we think we've learned to cope with that, guess what happens? We get a curveball. We get that unexpected moment, which could be a death in the family, a sickness, a tragedy, loss of a job, something that just comes out of the blue and just doesn't fit into our life. In fact, what it does, it throws everything out terribly. But if we don't cope with this, if we don't fit this in there, that's when we start having problems. And we have to learn and realize that when things like that happen in our lives, once again, we have to change our priorities and move everything around and just try and fit everything in to that same life. So, for example, this would now become important. This would move up there. So what was maybe our career suddenly becomes our family. Our status and standing is then not that important. Our health becomes more important. We've got to learn to cope with all of this. And if we do that and fit it into our lives, we can do it just by being open to change and just stopping, counting to 10 and reanalyzing our lives. And then we can have everything fit into that same square. And the wonderful thing about life is you have something called karma. And karma, whether you do good or bad things, always comes back twice the original. So imagine that you manage to cope with that and you've got karma, which is twice that of the black square. That'd be really cool. But how are we going to fit all this in here? Once again, what we have to learn to do is to move all our priorities around, and in that way we learn to cope with everything. So we'll say, for example, let's just move this up here. That one, oh, let's just put the blue one over there, and we just move all of these around. And if we do this properly, if we really look at our lives objectively, don't get caught up in the stresses and the negatives, and be open to change, and understand that talking to everyone, having a close family, looking after your health, and we put all that objectively together, suddenly we can have everything fit into our lives. And you know what the great thing is? it is still all able to fit into that original life over there. That's called dealing with life, becoming wise, being open to change, coping with everything that happens, just being authentic, living in the moment, and at the end what you do is you're creating a memorable, magical, you're creating various memorable, magical moments in your life, and you live a really, truly magical life. I'll speak to you again next time. Cheers.